Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dialogue, a Writer's Story by T-Powered Games. I played Dialogue back when it was in sort of pre-release testing stages, and I finished it then, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought I'd go ahead and play a bit for you now, because it comes out today, in fact. It's by T-Powered Games. They're on itch.io, and in full disclosure, they are good friends of mine. And they provided me with a copy of the final game just to give it a go. So let's start. This is my previous save from when I completed it in the pre-testing. The minute is just from just now when I was testing if it was still working. But let's start with an entirely new game, shall we? This game makes use of an autosave function. Your choices may or may not matter. No content in dialogue is permanently missable, so whatever choices you make, don't panic. Do you agree to these terms? Yeah, sure. Why not? Enter Adrian. I guess one of the closest ways to describe dialogue would probably be visual novel, although the term doesn't really apply as other visual novels are. It's just like it's a narrative experience. So if that's what you're looking for, this is what it is.
Yes, Torres, with 2 R's. I just moved to number 45 this morning. You live here too, right?
Yeah, we do. Do you need anything?
Oh, don't be rude. He's just introducing himself. I'm Charlotte, and this is Phil.
It's very nice to meet you. Actually, I do have something I wanted to ask.
Yes?
I need to change one of my light bulbs, but I don't have a ladder yet, so I was...
You wanted to borrow one.
Oh, yes please, if that's possible.
Of course it is. I'll bring it over this evening. 45, you said. That's where the Spencers used to live.
Guess they finally found someone to rent the place. It's been, what, 2 months?
I think so.
Well, anyway, thanks for the offer.
Sure.
So yeah, it's fully voice acted as well. And it's about exploring
You said you moved to 45.
the life of Lucille.
Then we're neighbours. I'm Lucille.
Oh, nice to meet you, Lucille. I'm Adrian.
If you just moved in, you must have boxes everywhere. Do you want to take a break from unpacking to have some tea?
Oh yes, that's very kind of you.
T is a central team in
Sorry
T-Powered
about
Games, so yes, T is central.
Phil isn't quick to warm up to people. Was there anything else you needed to know, by the way? Have you seen the bus stop nearby?
Yes, I have. I took the bus here from the airport.
Click on an option to have Lucille say it. If you're not sure what to choose, don't worry, just choose what you like. Allowing the conversation to proceed by letting the timer run out is also a valid option. A lot of the a lot of the lines are color-coded. There is no indication about what the colors mean, although if you're paying attention, a theme will emerge. And it's all about like not imposing sort of strict restrictions or strict instructions. It's all about adapting and seeing what you can learn from context. So, ticket the bus from the airport. And if you some things appear in time, and hope you got here fine.
I hope you didn't have trouble finding your way here.
Not at all. Everyone was very helpful, and there's a map at every bus stop. It even had a board showing how long it would take for the next bus to arrive. Is there a shop within walking distance?
Yes. Shop and Go is just over there if you turn left after the corner. What else would you need to know? We sort out our garbage into general refuse and paper and plastics. General waste gets picked up on Tuesdays and Fridays, whereas paper and plastics go on Mondays.
Tuesdays and Fridays, and the recyclables on Monday. I'll try to remember. So, I like my new flat. It's a bit bare at the moment, but it's bigger than my previous place, which is nice. I suppose now that I'm not living so close to the city centre, places are cheaper. Have you lived here long, Lucille?
And then again, we had red, green. This is red, purple, and yellow.
Depends on what you mean. I've been in this flat for 2 years, but I also lived not too far from here before I moved. I know the area quite well. It feels like home at this point.
I always let it run out a little bit just to see if any extra options turn up, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And let's go.
Right. Here we are. I'll be free for the rest of the day and most evenings, so feel free to drop by.
Of course. Thank you for the offer. I'm sure with your help I'll be settled in right away.
Return to Lucille's flat. I love that in perspective, this is nothing like London. You don't talk to your neighbours in London. Okay, Act 1. From Lucille's bedroom, you can access the rest of the game. To progress the story, click on the Next Scene button. Over for tea, Lucille met her new neighbour, Adrian, on her way back home. While they got to talk a little bit about Renford, they left off with the promise of having tea soon. Yes, let's just carry on. I mean, there's a lot to be explained, but a lot of the stuff is explained.
Hello, Adrian. Come in. Would you like some tea?
Oh, yes, please.
Just take a seat and I'll bring it over in a second.
Thank you.
A lot of the stuff is explained as you go, so I could explain a lot of things, but I think it's more interesting if one plays and sees what it's like. Because a lot of the answers to questions just come up naturally as the game goes. But yes, this is one of the interesting things I like about this game. This is probably one of my favourite things about the game, is the new way of exploring sort of conversations and having sort of conversations between characters in a very... I haven't seen this done before. Like, I've seen this with choices, but this is a very new way of doing it. Anyway, click on a coloured link for Lucille to talk about that subject, then move to a different panel. To go back to a panel you've seen, click on the corresponding arrow.
Oh, thank you very much. The tea smells great. I don't know much about teas, though. What kind is it? Aniseed?
So basically, you can replay any part of the conversation you want, and you can move on to new subjects. You can find thoughts stashed away within conversations. In the case of Adrian, they can be found inside envelopes. Click on the Thoughts tab on the bottom right of the screen to bring up all the thoughts you have available. Click on the thought to use it.
It's chamomile and fennel.
I see. I thought it might be aniseed. I'm not really knowledgeable about teas, I'm afraid. We don't have such a variety of teas back home to choose from, not without importing. So coffee's always been the beverage of choice. Oh, I haven't said where I'm from, have I? I was born in Valle-Azul, and I've been living in Monte Carlos since I started my studies.
Okay, so what thought have you got here? You've unlocked a new thought. Try and use it elsewhere in this conversation. The thought we have is... We have, what kind of work has Adrian done, and is Adrian happy to fill the silence by talking about his work? Anyway, let's go for my studies. If you use a thought in the right panel, you may discover a new envelope or link. If you use a thought in the wrong panel, you'll need to wait a while before you can use them again. While a thought is inactive, it'll look grey, and the circular cooldown meter will show how long is left until you can use a thought again.
What was it you studied?
My degree was in biochemistry. When I finished, I stayed in the same university and did my PhD in cell cycle regulation. Well, that's the general subject.
Now, what kind of work has Adrian done? That hasn't quite done yet, and we haven't really got to that point yet. So you can use them, and you can just... Oh! Ha! Turns out that is the one to use here. It sounds like he's done biochemical research. But if you use the wrong one, for example, it sort of times out. Yeah, and that added the my PhD as a new option. So let's go from the top to the bottom, shall we? By clicking on the map icon, you can zoom out and see multiple panels at once. While zoomed out, click on a distant panel to move to it, or use the arrows to move around.
That sounds very different to my degree. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I very much did. What about you, Lucille? What was your degree like? Oh, sorry. Maybe you don't really want to talk about it. Don't worry, it was just an idle question.
Let's see now. So if you zoom out, you get to see, you get to explore the conversation and go backwards and forwards. And I think it's a really cool way to display and to like explore a conversation nicely. I think this is about this one, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, he definitely is. I usually need a little bit of extra time to think. And you have a couple of new things here. A new focus. Check it out in the organizer once you finish this conversation. And there as well. Okay, and you can go back to here and the same university.
Do people often stay in the same university for their PhDs?
No, in fact, you're encouraged to go somewhere else and see how other people and institutions work. I decided to stay because the project my supervisor worked on was the most interesting to me.
And go back this way. And my PhD.
During my PhD, I worked on senescence, which is a state cells enter... Oh, well, it's something like permanent cell hibernation. We studied what kind of triggers make cells enter that state. I'll be doing similar work in the University of Renford, although the focus will be slightly different.
And we have a little door above his head now. What is a little door? At this point, you're free to keep exploring this conversation, or you can go back to Lucille's bedroom. While you're here, you could try to find your first focus, which we did. Focuses will allow you to change the way you play dialogue. If you'd like to return to the story, this scene will still be accessible from Lucille's bedroom via the new Extra Scenes button. Okay, so we've unlocked the new main scene, but we can still move on. There's still things to talk about. And things you talk about can affect things in the future. Like it said at the very beginning, some things may matter, some things may not. Let's see. What do we want here? Let's explore everything this time
Can you
around.
explain what you mean by that?
Of course. Every cell has chromosomes.
There's a lot of
Those
talking, to be honest,
X-shaped
so I might
bodies,
just sort of
DNA,
pause
you see when
and
cells divide.
not to downplay the voice actor's work.
Called
Just to,
telomeres,
you know,
jet, which are made of
if you want to
DNA
read,
without
please,
a
by all
function.
means read.
They're
I'll
not
just stop
genes, they're-
over and see what happens here. There's no thoughts left over, so... And you're going to University of Renford?
Had you been to the University of Renford before?
Not before today, actually. I had my interview when my supervisor came to Monte Carlo.
Yep, I'll pause again, just for the sake of speed, but the voice acting is actually quite nice. Quite well done. And slightly different.
As for why it's important, I don't like using this example, but it's easiest to understand. If cells have undergone DNA damage, among other things, they try to enter senescence to stop themselves from spreading that damage. However, if there are problems in doing so, the cells might continue spreading, which could lead to cancer. So, Lucille, what is it you do?
There you go, the answer to the question of what Lucille does.
I write book reviews and articles for an online magazine, Lotus.
I've not heard of it, but it sounds interesting.
New thought. What's the new thought we have here? I wonder what books Adrian likes to read. Let's see. We can go over there. Let's carry on here. You have this line of thought that's...
I do get to read some interesting books.
You'll have to recommend some for me, then. Or rather, I should find this Lotus magazine and read your reviews, and then I won't put you on the spot. I have to say, I miss reading fiction. I don't think I've taken the time to do so in months. It's always research papers or science textbooks.
And boom. Sounds like he doesn't have much time to read. Much that isn't work-related. I think the first time I approached thoughts, I approached it as wanting to ask the question. You click on it to ask the question. But it's more of a, you find the answer to the question and you match it to the question you want to ask. New thought. Which day is Adrian starting his new job? Did we start that back here? Maybe I've turned up back here. Go in tomorrow. There you go. He's already gone to his lab. He's starting at work early on Monday. So you
seem
find the
very
answer to the
dedicated
question.
To your research.
I think it's more that you need this level of dedication to be in research. I really do enjoy it, you know. It's a lot of work, but I still feel really accomplished when I get home. I don't know exactly why.
And there you go. Lucille will sometimes have the opportunity to bring up a topic in conversation. Each topic interests one character and is only available for a short period of time in a specific scene. While topics are hard to find, they will always be enjoyed by the other character. Topics are clear in blue speech bubbles, but they count as red, green, or yellow statement, depending if they have a splash of that colour. Yep, so you have a topic now. And we have one last one.
But you wouldn't want to say your
Or
research
not.
subject is cancer.
No, I study a tiny portion of the pathway that is related to cancer. I used to mention that my work involved cancer research, but then that was all people remembered.
Just how bad is that for you?
Well, it can get quite...
Again, I'll stop it because it's long, but you can read that. And I can empathise. I mean, I did science in university, and I can definitely empathise with that. And I know for a fact that the people in T-Powered Games can as well, because they, like me, they went to the same university. And yes, so I think we're pretty much done. We can exit the scene now. And like, again, if you ever want to go back, you can sort of see how they link with each other. See the links? It's actually quite nice. I do like this. This is like probably one of the best parts, I think, of dialogue, is this way of exploring conversations, which I would love to see sort of done in other games. But anyway,
I shouldn't keep you. You've got a lot of things to take care of.
Oh, yes,
it's really hard to talk over this game.
Thank you for the tea. I'll have to invite you for some coffee once I've had time to unpack and organise my flat.
I look forward to it.
Exit. Each extra scene will be marked with a new star. If you haven't looked at it yet, it will be marked as leaving with an exclamation mark if this is your last chance to play the extra scene. Don't worry, you'll be able to play the scene again later. Nothing in dialogue is permanently missable. Which is always nice if they tell you that ahead of time. So what do we have? You have over for tea. We've just done over for tea. And we have next scene, Lucille's organizer. which is kind of your equipment box. In the organizer, you'll be able to look at and equip focuses, as well as look at other collectibles you've gathered. We have topics. We have Rinale and his work. A large part of Adrian's identity is tied up to his work. Lucille could use Adrian's dedication as inspiration for her novel characters, which explains that the core part of the book, the game, is that Lucille is a writer, and she's looking for inspiration for a new book, which is about what dialogue is about. And for a character named Rinale, which we haven't met yet, we can use the work of Adrian's work as part of a topic to deal with that character. And focuses. Focuses are listed on the leftmost 2 pages. Click on the name of a focus to read its description, and if you'd like to equip it, press the focus button. Each focus has a different effect on how dialogue plays, so try them out and see which ones you like. Consider. Focusing on the conversation at hand can give Lucille a bit more time to take in what the other person is saying, and think things through. Basically, if you use Consider, you can pause the timer for a while you're thinking about a response. And Know It All. Lucille knows where the conversation is going in general and can speed through it. Click on Know It All to skip one line at a time if you've already heard the statement already. Click on Skip Completed Text to skip all the way to the next choice. Otherwise that option will be crossed out. You'll have one less time to choose between statements when Know It All is equipped. I'm going to go for Consider because we don't want to skip everything. Or you can go to Know It All, but Consider is what we're going to use at the moment. Back to the main. And yes. When Adrian stopped for tea, Lucille learned a bit more about her new neighbour, including that he's a biochemist. Now that Lucille's done with her work for the day, she wants to keep working on her as of yet unnamed novel. What's in the menu? Settings. Help. We can just move on. Next scene. When Lucille receives an email, she can choose to reply to it using the green reply button. She can also quit an email at any time using the red exit button. Novel stuff. From Jacob Hawthorne to Lucille Hawthorne. Hey, sorry I couldn't make it today. Did you convince Helen to go watch the movie with you? How was it? How's the novel coming along, by the way? Is Culdana still waiting for you to figure out where things are going? Then you can reply to each line at a time. So, replying to that line? No worries, it was last minute suggestion anyway. Helen was busy, so I ended up going with Nora and Francois instead. Friends from my course, I don't know if you remember them. It was probably for the best. I think Helen might have found the humour a bit too subtle to really enjoy it. It would be right up your alley, though. You can change the line as well.
Maybe I'm cutting him too much slack.
Oh, you'll just have to make it up to me later.
Let's not be so harsh.
No worries.
That's a bit lacking.
Cool, no worries, it was just a last minute suggestion anyway. How's the novel coming along? Let's find out. Yeah, I still need to plan things out more. What I had in mind isn't being thrown out the window or anything, it just doesn't feel right. I reread the first few chapters and I think they need a little bit more excitement, more life. The reader needs to get attached to this fantasy world, be invested in it, before they hear about these abnormalities that are popping up everywhere. If they don't care about the world and its people, why would they care about a phenomenon that's altering everyone's lives?
That's not the real issue here.
I wouldn't say that's what she's waiting for.
Well, she is, in part.
I suppose she is.
That doesn't quite explain it.
Yeah, I need to plan things out more, and you can add a little bit extra as well. Anyway, I have an idea for a character that I'll try to flesh out tonight. This scientist character, inspired by my new neighbour Adrian, should push Culdana and co. in a more interesting direction. I had a bit of a chat with Adrian over tea, and he sounded quite excited about his research, so I've been trying to capture that in my writing. Of course, I still need to figure out what scientist refers to in a world where there are word weavers, but as you always say, it's all sorted itself out in the end.
Let's not quote Jacob at himself.
Otherwise I'll have to rethink this.
You wouldn't want to hear me changing things so much.
But I'll figure it out. Maybe. Let's move back to maybe. Let's go back to maybe, I like that. Boom. I'll figure it out. And send. And you get an immediate reply as well, because everyone we talk to has an immediate reply system. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it at least. Maybe I'll go see it next weekend if I'm not busy. I'm sure you can keep all your plans and make it work. This scientist character of yours sounds like a good contrast to Culdana's go with the flow personality. Besides, having an actual scientist next door means you can get all the technobabble right, so that's a plus. Yeah, I know you can figure it out. Hope your new neighbour is not as loud as the Spencers. I meet you at the party day and night to match the kids jumping around the house all day while singing, but who knows, you live in a weird area. Anyway, later. I am the main character. Lucille and Jacob talked a bit about the novel's direction and the possible inclusion of a new main researcher character. Now Lucille has a better idea of what she wants to do with her novel and would like to start the next chapter when she's done working for the day. We have some new extra scenes as well. Over for tea is about to run out, but we already did that one. And you can move on. Next scene. I am the main character. Is the consider
The
focus.
review for Over the Crest has been sent. That should be it for today.
Now we can just doze off.
Lucille, are you awake? It's me, Renelle, your new scientist character. So good to finally meet you.
As an option's color reflects Lucille's intentions for that statement, consider which statements you choose and how the other person may react. Do you have an extra option? Sometimes it's worth waiting. Let's go for consider. Consider pauses that for a while that timer runs out. And we just go... Tell me more about
Could you
yourself.
tell me a bit more about yourself?
Of course. I'll start by saying that I am the best suited to be your novel's main character. Well, I know it sounds like a big change, but it doesn't have to be. Just introduce me in the story, and when you do, switch it to my point of view. That way you don't have to change that much, and the novel will improve significantly. But you asked about me. As a character based on Adrian, there's a lot more to pull from. I'm a much more complex character than Caldana, at the very least.
Let's see. Ooh, we can go red. We can go be confrontational. I always think of red as confrontational, but it's not always true. Like I said, there's no strict theme.
Than her, at least. Think about it. Caldana is already formed in your mind. And let's face it, she's not going to take the novel in an interesting direction. I, on the other hand, can lead it where it needs to go. So, believe me, there is a lot more you can do with me.
Smarmy bugger. Let's see. Any other options? I always leave it a bit just to see. Come on.
You're willing.
Work for it.
Can you show me you're able?
I should hope so, yes. But the current version of the novel wasn't necessarily headed in the right direction. But if you figure out what the right direction is, I can accommodate it. Let's take your neighbour Adrian as an example, since I'm based on him. I could easily be cheerful about my work, adding a sense of wonder to the fantasy. Caldana wouldn't do that. She would be too measured to show real excitement. I'm also happy to accept change, to move around your fantasy world exploring leads, and to explain things to other characters, to the benefit of the readers. I could help you to push the boundaries you need pushed to make this novel a compelling read.
The lengths to which you will go for your work are admirable. See, this is influenced by the topic stuff before, so let's use that now.
The lengths to which you would go for your work are admirable.
Oh, thank you. It is true that a large part of my character centers around the strong dedication I have for my work. If you can translate that well into the novel, then both my motivations and the story's progress will come naturally. Wasn't your earlier novel considered a bit childish? Use me as a way to show the kinds of conflict people in my position would have to deal with, both on a professional and a personal level.
Let's see now. So you think the novel is childish? Let's make him work for it.
I can't believe you're agreeing with people who considered it childish.
Calm down and think about it logically.
He didn't react well to
Plots
that.
and themes. All of their criticisms were right on the mark. And anyway, that doesn't really matter, does it? Why not take this opportunity to change your protagonist as a way to change the overall tone of the novel? As a strong, lone protagonist, I can do things that Caldana and her team of world weavers wouldn't. I'm convinced that I could lead your story. Your plan was to have Caldana discover an abnormality with her word weaving. I could be a great way to teach the reader what word weaving is without it sounding like exposition.
It's very ego-driven to have sort of very strong imagination to have this massive argument with yourself. I like it. How would you explain word weaving?
How would you explain word weaving to the readers?
By the time I make my appearance in the novel, the reader will have seen Caldana researching how things work. I will ask how her research has led her to being able to manipulate said things using only words, since that isn't my area of expertise. I would also remind her that understanding and manipulating is easier for inanimate objects than the living, and she would say that her focus is on energy, which is not alive, but still more complex than, say, rocks. But I'm getting sidetracked. I was telling you about why I would be a good lead. My personality means I could surprise readers as well as Caldana, which you could use for a plot twist if you wanted. Oh, imagine the tension.
Can you imagine it already? And her surprise will mirror that of the readers.
And her surprise will mirror that of at least some of the readers.
Yes. If I'm well written, some readers should be caught by surprise. Of course, some won't be, and they'll claim they saw it coming from a mile away. But there are always people like that. There's no reason not to try me out, at least. I'll explain my position, without interruptions, please.
Now, basically, he asks us not to interrupt us, so we can basically let him
I grew up in
talk,
a fairly normal household.
or we can interrupt
Any
him.
traumatic experiences. We don't want any stereotypical mad scientist beginnings. I met Caldana when I was still in school, and we were good friends. But we went our separate ways when we started our university studies.
Now, do we interrupt him or let him carry on? Ooh. Ooh, let's see. Last time I played it, I let him go, so let's stop him.
So you don't want to spend longer with Caldana?
Let me finish the whole story before you interrupt. Unlike Caldana, I
He
wasn't
doesn't
very
like
skilled at
interruptions.
practical word weaving. So I spent most of my time learning how things worked. Something similar to our state of biology or chemistry research 100 years ago.
Let him go. Again, like, alright is in a thought bubble, so you're not actually saying anything, so might as well. Alright.
My ambition meant that I became well known quite quickly. By the time I was 30, I was traveling to distant cities, helping other research groups and word weavers when they were having problems. The story can take place 5 years later. Anyway, those were my main thoughts.
Yes, and last time I think he thanked me for not interrupting him, which I didn't do this time around. Yes, you're well placed.
Your place in the world lends itself well to you making a crucial discovery.
If I have to notice something other people don't, then it makes sense for me to be in a privileged position, doesn't it? Working with many laboratories means I've seen many different approaches and could tie all their ideas together. But it's not just about my history. Make sure you make my personality clear, too. Maybe I collect pocket watches, or watch a sport that no one cares about. I have a few quirks lined up, too. For example, my favorite color is purple, so I tend to write using purple ink pens. I enjoy singing, but since I don't think I'm any good at it, I only do it in the shower.
What are you drawing from? I think you can infer from this, but
Could you tell me a bit more about where these all stem from?
There are two main traits I'm highlighting. The first is eccentricity. Purple pens, unpopular sports, collecting pocket watches. Having a few of these means I don't have one characteristic thing for people to latch onto, but rather that I myself am strange and memorable. Oh, I could have learned a language no one uses. That could be added to the list. The other is a contrast between my confidence when I'm dealing with research and other things I've studied, and anything else. I could talk about my work all day, but I wouldn't want to sing in public, even in a very casual setting. In terms of my looks, however, I should probably be less distinctive. I could have prematurely shortening horns, but nothing else that really stands out. Well, there's more things I could talk about, but I think you get the idea.
aren't you too self-sufficient?
I do. Although I'm not convinced I like for you to be such a self-sufficient character.
I do think that the traits I've described would make for a better character. But at the end of the day, I'm still your character. If you know me and the story well enough,
I think that's a
I'm sure
nod.
that's what it needs.
That little bob is a
But I
nodding
always
head.
I'm still malleable, but who I am so far is perfect for this role. I'm fading from your mind already. Remember what I said. Try me out and see how the story changes.
That's the first time a character of mine has been so clear in my head. It was an interesting experience, although a little bit strange.
Lay off the mushrooms next
I
time,
should
eh?
probably start dinner. But I want to write a few things down first.
Start taking notes and have dinner. Hi there. Is it strange if I speak with you directly when Lucille's not around? Who are you? It's not that I want to be cryptic, I just think some things are more fun if you don't know the answer until the appropriate time. Ooh. Ooh. Anyway. That's pretty much how dialogue goes. It's about Lucille and her adventure to write this book. Again, it's one of those things, it's about Lucille. The actual book isn't important, and there's a lot of stuff about the book that isn't made particularly clear up front, but in time, everything sort of comes around, and you get to learn quite a bit about everyone involved. I really enjoy dialogue. I think it is right up my alley. I think I do like the writing because it's the writing I enjoy, and I think it was really well done. And it's on itch.io and it comes out today. If you want to play more, I recommend you do. See you there. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time, folks. See you then. Bye.